I'm sitting here outside one of Stockholm's oldest schools, oldest high schools. It's called Kungsholmens Gymnasium. Just finished my work for today, my workload probably. Yes, I did. And I want to give you a single review about Nita Prose's novel, The Maid, that I read, or that I listened to actually as an audiobook last week. And well, The Maid, it's a book about Molly Gray, and Molly Gray is a 25-year-old woman. She lives probably in the United States. It's not so clear, but she works at a hotel called the Regency Grand Hotel, and she's a maid. She cleans rooms, and she's the one who's invisible, the one you never see when you are in a hotel, when you stay in a hotel. And she comes after you left because she cleans your room to perfection and returns it into perfection. And that's Molly's job, and she likes her job. She's a little bit different than other people. She is shy, she is not very social, she has a few friends in her telephone. There are only 8 contacts, 8 numbers. She used to live with her granny, with her grandmother, called her Gran, but the grandmother died 8 years ago, and now Molly is all alone in her little flat, and she's behind with the rent. So the landlord is knocking at her door and asking for money, asking for the rents. And well, one day Molly, she loves her job, she loves to clean rooms. One day Molly comes into the room of Mr. Black, Charles, I think Charles Black is his name, an older businessman who lives in that hotel once per month for a whole week always. And Mr. Black is dead. He's lying dead in his bed. And his wife, her name is Giselle. Yes, that's what her name is. She is much younger than Mr. Black, and she is sort of friendish, as we would say in English nowadays. You can say almost anything with the suffix ish. She's friendish with a friend of Molly. Molly believes that Giselle is a friend, but is she? Is she really a friend? Well, you don't know. And Molly also dates a guy called Rodney, who's works at the bar, and she can't really interpret the way people communicate. She's not good at it. She doesn't know if you're laughing with her or if you're laughing at her. That's always an issue for Molly. And well, suddenly the police is suspecting Molly to have killed Mr. Black, and Molly is in deep, deep trouble, and she doesn't know what to do. Her gran is dead, and she has no friends. And Rodney, is he really a love interest? Is he really in love with her? Is Giselle really a friend of Molly? She doesn't know. And what about Mr. Preston, the doorman? Can she trust him? Or how about Juan Manuel, the guy who seems to be an illegal immigrant and who also works in the hotel, but illegally? Is he a friend or not? It's a big problem. It's some kind of way, it's a whodunit. But what do I think? It's a huge success, this novel. The Maid is a huge, huge success. It has been translated into 30 languages. And speaking about the author, Nita Prose, her actual name is Nita Pronovost. I don't know why she used the pseudonym, which is not a pseudonym, Nita Prose for that book. Maybe because she's writing prose, I don't know. But she's a Canadian. She's Canadian, and she works with Simon & Schuster in Toronto, Canada. And this is her first novel, and she probably has become quite rich with this book, which also has been sold as a motion picture. The film rights have been sold, 30 languages, and a huge seller everywhere where it is published. It is in that genre that I would call a feel-good thriller, whatever that is, a cozy thriller, cozy mystery it is called, and that's the point where I get my issues. I like the character, and it's funny at sometimes how Molly, who is narrating the story in first person singular, how Molly is describing her life and how she's misreading the mimic and the words of people, how she tries to find warmth and tenderness and friendship in this world, and she never knows if she's right or wrong, and she always tries to do her best and to live her life perfectly well, as her grandmother has told her. And they love, I haven't mentioned that, they love somebody that I love too. They loved, Gran is dead, but Molly's still alive, and they both love to watch Inspector Columbo, starring Peter Falk, of course, as the good old Inspector Columbo. And Columbo and Molly, they have a little bit in common maybe, because Columbo is also different. The word autistic is never mentioned, or spectrum, or whatever. So that's a bit strange, because everybody thinks that Molly is different, that Molly is strange, that nobody says she might be autistic or something. That is something that is really a little bit weird. And what's also weird is that the depiction of characters in this novel is not perfectly well. There are very much stereotypes. Molly is, of course, the protagonist, and there's a lot about Molly in this book. And you could say that she's portrayed very well. We know what she thinks and how she works and how she thinks. But is that authentic? That's something that I ask myself. But you could say that we get a good portrait of Molly Gray, but all the other people are stereotypical and stereotypes. And what somebody has written about the Maid is that, for example, Juan Manuel, the immigrant from Mexico who's illegally, he's depicted in a very stereotypical way, and of course that sort of ends up with a lot of criticism, and a correct criticism about the good immigrant, but the one who doesn't understand much. He's very naive and he believes. And then we have Mr. Black, who was an evil man. We have Giselle, the trophy wife, the young woman who is selling her looks in order to marry a rich man. We have Rodney. Don't say so much about him. I don't want to spoil too much for you who haven't read the novel. So there are a lot of stereotypical characters, and it was entertaining, yes it was, but was it a great read? No, definitely not. It's an average read for me, because there's too much stereotypical character depiction in this novel, and there's also what I think, who have read a lot of thrillers throughout my life, I like mysteries or crime thrillers when they are authentic, when they have something to do with reality, where I can learn something about crimes in a way that they sort of reflect things that are going on in our society. So that is something that I look after, and definitely you won't find that in The Maid. So if I should give points for that novel, I would say like a 3 out of 5, not more. And would I watch the movie, which is in the making with Florence Pugh as Molly Gray? Yes, I will watch the movie. I think I will do it. But maybe I will DNF the movie when it's not interesting enough. So that was my criticism, my review of The Maid by Nita Prose. Thanks very much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel, and I see you soon. Bye!